Say, man, for those select few that are already initiated, you should already know what this is. And for those of you that aren't, just chill. See, we gonna get to the other stuff in a minute. But what I'm always trying to get everybody to understand is everything is vibration. So, just vibe. It's about that time. You just open up your ear and let me crawl into your mind. One time. Once again, you found yourself on the space shuttle. But we going light years ahead this time. Next stop, Neptune. Be careful. Things may not be as they appear. Not with Neptune. So don't get in your feelings behind no disillusion. Fortunately for you, I am not a mirage. And all the BS and, smoky mirrors, somebody got to keep it real in the equation. And you looking at it. This probably be our last trip to Neptune, y'all. We have a whole universe to explore. Don't get me twisted though. Don't get disillusioned about me. I am not the man of your dreams. I am the coolest one in the whole cosmos, though. And that's true. You better smile. Don't get caught up in nobody else's bullshit either. There is no escape. Remember that with Neptune. Free game. And I don't give that away too often. Cause the game is to be sold and not told. What it was, y'all. Y'all know who it is. If not, you can just call me he who must remain nameless. But y'all tuned in with Priceless Knowledge of Self. And this right here, this ain't nothing but some cosmic insight, man. And hey, man, I hope everybody feeling good, man. But it's time to get this money. It really is, man. What did you feel like you worked? That's a big thing here. That's the major factor that we're going to talk about when we take our last trip to Neptune. Because this right here, this is a little something about those people that have Neptune in the second house of their natal chart. And before we actually go there, let me first tell you that this right here, this is our last and final installment in our Neptune in the Houses series. So after this is done, you can go back and review all the Neptune in the houses relate to your chart. And hopefully I help you know a little bit about yourself, man. Okay. Or at least validate something. And after that, if you don't know my style, let me tell you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about Neptune. I'm going to give you a little bit about the energy that comes along with it and how it might affect you. Then after that, I'm going to give y'all a little bit about what the second house of the astrological chart is kind of all about. And then after that, we're going to bring it to a climax, which, fortunately for y'all, that's what I do best. And it's also my favorite, okay? Mi favorito. And so, Neptune. Neptune is named after the Roman god of the sea, and it's the modern ruler of the sign of Pisces in the 12th house of the astrological chart. But I'm always going to remind y'all that if you ask any traditional astrologer, which is what I consider myself to be, or you ask any Vedic astrologer, Jupiter actually rules Pisces in the 12th house. But I say that they both do it. Neptune's influence is actually, it's a little bit stronger there. And another thing to know is that Neptune is actually considered as the higher octave of Venus because it's really all about compassionate acceptance and unconditional love of all that is. Okay. And I'd also call it a transpersonal planet along with Uranus and Pluto. And that's because they really take us into realms that are beyond logical and rational understanding. Okay. And in this case, Neptune connects us with the divine. It's the planet of inspiration. It's the planet of dreams. It's the planet of illusions and fantasies. And it also intensifies our sensitivity and intuition, but it could also cloud our perception of reality, whatever that is. And it also relates to, photography, film, dance, music, painting, and poetry, man. And it also rules over drugs, both those that have the power to heal us and those that have the power to cloud our perception of reality, whatever that is. And, or alter it. I think that's a better word for me to use there. And, I also want y'all to know that, Neptune, it's also all about compassion. And it takes about 165 years to traverse the whole zodiac. So if you know somebody that's done hit that Neptune return, I please, would love to meet them. Because I want to know their secrets. And, with that being in mind, that means it spends about 14 years in each sign. And so it's definitely a generational planet in that aspect. And it's going to come across in a similar way for those people that are, were born in that time period, because that's where Neptune is going to be related to the culture. Neptune is also, connected to how the culture moves. Okay. And so that's why the generations you're in make a lot of difference. For instance, I was born in the Neptune and Capricorn generation, but my Neptune is in the 3rd house. Okay. Now the house placement, that's where things get more personal. Around here, we all about getting personal. And so, what that can tell us is that, it can show what area of life where we might be idealistic or where we might have artistic tendencies, as well as where we might be delusional or want to escape reality, whatever that is. And, the aspects, they show us what other areas of life are affected by our dreams and where we might be divinely gifted as well, too. And it also could show where we might not be seeing things as clearly as we should, man. And there's a lot with this one, man. And it's really vast as the deep blue sea. Okay. Pun intended. Pun intended. And, the second house now. The second house is ruled by Venus and Taurus. And it kind of symbolizes what the self has to work with materially in this life. Okay. And our possessions, our money, physical resources, they can all be found here. It can also represent our desires and our values, man. And planets placed in the second, they really operate in the field of material needs. And they also indicate what you value most. Okay. And I know that's basic, but that's the gist of that. And so when we're taking Neptune and we're placing Neptune in the second house, I'm going to tell you now, man, until one learns to work with this is going to be a really rough placement. Okay. Because, do y'all know that person, and a lot of people do that, that really has no idea about money whatsoever. That one person that really couldn't even care less, about learning how finances work either. So they're kind of always struggling, to make ends meet. Chances are they got Neptune in the second, man. And, that's because for me, one of the most common themes here that I'm going to see is people with a real great disposition to have no earthly clue whatsoever about what's going on in their wallet or their bank account. Okay. And, that right there can really make this life real hard for somebody, man. And, the thing is, most of them kind of tend to see finances through a sort of a fog or a mist that makes them simply not give a damn about managing money or accumulating any kind of wealth or, really, putting a lot of stock in material stuff. Okay. That's not what they're about, man. They're spiritual people. They're spiritual people, pardon me. And, the problem with that is, hey, it's cool. I'm a spiritual person, but, we live in a material world. So at some point, they're going to either, have to learn to be more practical and learn how to manage money in some kind of capacity, or, this is going to be a stressful life and they could end up drowning, or doing nothing and lost in translation. And, you could just think about it like this. Okay, let me put it into perspective, man. The second house requires an extremely practical approach to things, man. And, the issue arises that, Neptune is the most impractical planet of all of them. And that's just real, man. And so for the longest time, man, you got to think that, spirituality, which is Neptune, and money, which is the second house, they were in opposition to each other, in essence for society. And for centuries, material existence was considered the veil of tears, and enjoying life was kind of considered as a sin. And sadly, right there, that attitude is still strongly present with a lot of these people that have a second house Neptune, man, to the point where they can sometimes really feel guilty, about themselves for desiring to have a lot of money, or for covering to have things on a material nature, or really wanting to come up, man. They'll resent themselves for feeling that, and therefore repress those things that they have, and a lot of times not use the gifts that they have. And, on the flip side of that, these are also those people who will, give you the shirt off their back. That's what this says, man. They will give you their very last and then go without themselves, really be suffering themselves, which that sounds real noble, don't it? It really does. And, I want you to think about how amazing, though, it would really be if they were on point enough and handling their business enough and on their note enough to, really be in a position to help somebody. You know what I'm saying? Instead of them struggling, they giving you their last, and then you don't do nothing with it, and now both of y'all are screwed off. You know what I'm saying? And you just help one person, and now both of y'all are messed up. When they could easily use their gifts, their talents, their sense of compassion to, do things in a broad sense and really, make things happen, man. Really make things happen, man. And, even though money shouldn't ever be the ultimate purpose of one's existence, in my opinion, you understand that, it's still essential in sustaining yourself on this plane that we exist on right here. And, I'm a spiritual person, and a lot of people, when they get up in their spiritual bag, they want to go off and do all kinds of stuff and abandon, all the stuff they're doing and not try to do nothing with it. They're like, and this ain't 1962, man. We're not doing the thing where everybody's packing up and going to Berkeley, and there's nothing wrong with that in that time, but this is something else. You need, if you want to help somebody, you want to do things, you need finances, man. You need to care a little bit about that, man. That doesn't mean it has to be the center of your universe, and it shouldn't be, because that's where greed comes in. You know what I'm saying? That's where vanity takes place, and it causes a whole bunch of things that go on with itself, man. And, You just got to think about that, man. You need that on this existence. And on that same note, let me say that, I've also noticed that the Neptune in the second house person, they can get in a bind themselves because they really have a hard time asking for anything. So if they ever get into some trouble, man, they're not going to ask nobody for nothing, man. The Neptune in the second house person, man, they really, they're the type that kind of, gets seller's guilt. That's the word I'm looking for. They do that. Or they're the type that have some kind of, really awesome talent, or, some creative or healing, energy that they have going on that's really transcendental, but they feel bad about charging people for their services. So, they be real struggling real hard when in all actuality, they could be thriving and helping people on a grand scale because they're denying what they're supposed to be getting for their stuff, man. They're the type of people that, they don't place a lot of value in themselves a lot of the time, or they feel guilty about making money or doing whatever it is, because Neptune can also show where you feel guilty. That to the point where, they have all these skills. They got the skills to pay the bills and sitting in the dark with no water running. Tell me how that makes sense. And they sitting the whole time dreaming about how much they want to help people and how much they want to do and all that. When all they have to do is get on it. When all they have to realize is that it ain't nothing to it but to do it, man. It's just this disillusion for real. And, let me also say that it really just boiled down to the fact that these people right here, they value things more of a spiritual or esoteric nature than they do with that material stuff. They don't care a lot about that. And they really appreciate spirituality. They appreciate love. They appreciate altruism. And, if What I feel about that, man, is that they're going to really, if they're going to spend too, because that's what the second house is going to show also, they're going to spend on something that's going to, connect them more with the divine, man. They're going to spend on items and experiences that are probably going to be of a spiritual nature, like music, like art, like books, like astrology readings, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes, drugs. And they're the type that, they really don't want to deal with all that. They don't want to deal with all that. So they just mess their money off. That's what that could show. Also, Neptune in the second, you have to understand, it shows that, you're disillusioned about what's going on and you got some escapism going on and it's affecting your finances majorly. So that's really something to think about, man. And, even beyond that, let me say that, these are beautiful souls. So don't get this all twisted like this is just the most negative placement, because there are actually ways where these people come out winning. But it's all about teaching yourself some discipline, because Neptune ain't about discipline, and teaching yourself some boundaries. Because, when you're giving all your stuff away, when you do all that, because you don't respect money, or that's not what you're about, or you feel like, you're a sucker for a sob story, whatever, what can you really do? Because it boils down to this fact. And I'm gonna give y'all, I always spit this out. And this is actually, comes from the Bible, but I want y'all to understand that I'm spiritual. I'm not religious. I'm not a part of any religion whatsoever or any sect. I have my own set of values. Okay. But it says this, and I always tell y'all this. How can I come get a splinter out of your eye when I have a log in my own eye? So, hey, man, a lot of the times, if they would just chill and find out, get themselves some discipline, start valuing themselves, start utilizing the skills that they have, man, they can help people for real. And on top of that, they can come up for real on a grand scale, man. And let me also say that these are the type of people that get a lot of satisfaction from helping people and from donating to charities if they're able to. But if there's some of them harsher aspects going on, that I'm always warning y'all about, this could also indicate somebody who might be living off charity too. So, that's definitely something else to think about with this one. Okay. And, lastly, let me say that Neptune can speak to how we make our money. Okay, so with Neptune, these are probably going to be extremely gifted and creative artists and, actors, musicians, and people who just have all this creative talent, and people really feel their work, and man, like people hold them in the highest regard, man. You know what I'm saying? And if they could just learn how to value themselves enough and, make sure that they're adequately charging for their talents and really establish some kind of discipline about finances, they can make out better than everybody else in the end, man. You know, a perfect example of this, somebody with displacement is the actor Tom Hanks, man. You know, he has Neptune in the second, man. I know this. And he's a perfect example of somebody with this, man. And, you know, displacement could also signify somebody, you know, who, you know, because they didn't learn all those things, they don't have boundaries, or, you know, they don't want to charge enough for their talents, or, you know, they feel bad about that. They just, you know, are really charitable. You know, they could be what some would call a starving artist, which is, you know, that's actually the most common of what could be here. Because when I see Neptune in the second, I know that I'm probably dealing with somebody that, you know, who saving money isn't very high on their priority list, you know, unless they've done a lot of maturing. But even if it don't play out like that, just because you built like that, you don't have to build like that, man. You know, we all have all of this energy available to us. What you do with it is what you do with it. And even beyond that, it's not about what you do. It's about how you do it. Okay. And that's some priceless knowledge in itself. And there's been some priceless knowledge of self, man. If y'all fool with me on any level, man, y'all like, share, and subscribe, man. Hit that like button, man. Subscribe if you haven't already. You know, hit the bell icon and get notified when I drop some new stuff. And hey, look, man, this concludes our Neptune in the Houses series, man. This concludes all the series that we've been working on. I'm going to take me a little bit off, and then I'm going to come back with something new, man. I don't know yet. I ain't going to tell y'all yet, okay? But I'm going on vacation. I got a trip to Miami coming up. So, you know, that's looking now, man. So, y'all keep it real, man, until y'all see me again. If y'all interested in the astrological readings whatsoever, hit me up in the comments below or email me at mr.turner1300@gmail.com.